Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we are seeing Diti is reminding her husband Kashyapa Muni about his duty as a husband. Bharatari apta urumananam Lochan avishate yashaha Patir bhavat vidho yasam prajaya nanu jayate. As a husband, Patir, your fame will increase, yasham, yashaha, Lochan avishate yashaha, your fame will increase if prajaya, if you beget children. So, actually this is what married life is meant for. Husband and wife together, they can make progress in Krishna conscious life if their goal is to advance in Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of difference, Prabhupada explains, between Grahast Ashram and Grahamedhi. Ashram means taking shelter of spiritual life, that is called ashram. So whether it is Brahmacharya ashram, Sannyas ashram, all of them are called as ashram. Whereas Grahamedhi is explained in Bhagavatam as in a house, just by getting a wife, just by getting married and having children does not mean it is called Grahasthashram. Just by living with the wife is not called Grahasthashram. Grahasthashram means when both husband and wife have taken shelter of spiritual life, that is called as Grahasthashram. So Grahasthashram is meant for advancing in spiritual life, not for sense gratification. That has to be primarily understood. Otherwise it becomes Grahamedhi. Grahamedhi means one who is attached to sense gratification for the sake of his wife and children, and he is tied. The Vedas explain, Bhagavatam explains, it is like, Grahamedhi's life is like a goat tied in the slaughterhouse. That is the situation of a Grahamedhi. That he is tied with his attachment to his wife and children to be slaughtered by material nature. So, Prabhupada explains that in the society, it is very important as a human, in human form of life, there should be proper guidance. Prabhupada gives an example. We will see in the animal life Generally, the dog, it begets children, its puppies, and afterward, for some time, only to take care of its food, they are dependent on the mother. Practically, father is not in picture at all. And after some time, they leave them. There is no guidance in the animal society like that, apart from what is required for maintaining their body. But in human form of life, there must be proper guidance. It's not that we beget children and just for maintenance like animals, we keep them together without guidance. So Rishabdev explains, any kind of guardian, if somebody is dependent on you, some subordinate is dependent on you, they must be guided properly. Otherwise, don't take the position of a guardian. So don't become a guardian if you cannot give proper guidance to your subordinate. It could be teacher, it could be the spiritual master, it could be father or mother, any kind of guardian. Bhagavatam says one should not become unless one can deliver its subordinate. Rishabdev very nicely explains this in Bhagavatam. He says, Kastam swayam tat abhigno vipaschit avidyayam antare vartamanam. He says, one class of person is there in the society, he is called abhigna and vipaschit. Abhigna means learned, one who knows things. Abhigna, conscious. Another is, so abhigna and vipaschit, and another is avidyayam antare vartamanam utpathagam yatha andham. Another is andham, ignorant, avidyayam, who has no knowledge. So this is how it is compared to very nicely. Why there is guidance required in the society? Somebody may ask, why the parents are supposed to give guidance to their children? Why spiritual master is supposed to guide his disciples, right? And what should be the position of one who is guiding? That is also very important. Because Prahlad Maharaj also says, Andhar yathe andher upniyamanam. He says, materialistic society means one blind is guiding another blind. So that there is no use. One man is blind, another man is blind. So one blind man takes the position of a leadership and he guides another blind. Both of them are going to fall into ditch. Both of them cannot be saved. Neither the person who is guiding. So this is a very simple logic. One who is giving guidance, he must have eyes to see. He must have vision, proper vision. Right? So if there is a blind man, he can be guided by a person who has eyes. Not by a man who does not have eyes. So, knowledge is compared to eyes which are open. Ignorance is compared to blindness or eyes which are closed. Om ajnana timirandhasya. Ajnana is compared to darkness, where we cannot see. Jnananjana shalakhaya. Jnana is compared to, and it is like an ointment which will open up our eyes and which will clear away the darkness. Jnana is compared to the torchlight. So the spiritual master, with the knowledge, with the torchlight knowledge, clears away timira, darkness of our life, by opening our eyes with ointment. So, Rishabdev is explaining very beautifully that there are two kinds of people in the society, and there always should be two classes of people. One who are guided and one who is guiding. So what should be the qualification of one who is guiding is very nicely explained. He should be tad abhigno vipaschit. He should be very, very learned. He should be aware of the knowledge of the Vedas. His vision should be clear. His eyes should be open. He can give guidance. So what he is saying, Rishabdev is saying, suppose if there is a man, his eyes are open. There is a man who is blind. This blind man is walking. Another blind man is leading him. And this man who has got eyes, he is seeing that both of them are going towards one pit where they are going to fall down. Can a man who has eyes, if he is sober, will he allow that? Let us say one person is blind and is going and is walking, and he is seeing that very soon he is going to fall into a pit, very dangerous pit. Can a man who has got eyes with him, will he allow him to fall down in that pit? He will not allow. Then he is not a man, he is an animal. So, he is asking this question, Rishabdev is asking this question. Kaha tam swayam tad abhigno vipaschit. If a person is learned, if he is abhigna, if he is conscious, and he is vipaschit, kahatam means how can he? What can he? Avidyayam antare vartamanam. How can he allow people to be entangled in avidya? How can he allow people to be engaged in fruitive activities which will entangle him? You see? So this is very important for all of us. We are all supposed to be knowledgeable, right? We are all supposed to be brahmanas. We all get initiated into spiritual knowledge. Correct? What is initiation? Divya Gyan. So we are all supposed to be having knowledge. We are supposed to be very learned, having understanding, vision, clarity. Rishabdev is questioning, he is asking, is there a learned man that you are calling yourself to be learned, you are calling yourself to be Brahmana, you are saying that I am initiated into knowledge? Then how can you allow people to be engaged in fruitive activities? So he is saying, Kastam swayam. Swayam means personally. If a person is personally abhigno and vipaschit, he is conscious, he is very learned. Prabhupada explains abhigna means knowing spiritual knowledge is called abhigna. If you see in the very first verse of Bhagavatam, about Krishna, what is described? Abhigna Swarat. That is the knowledge, that is the definition of Krishna. He is abhigna, is completely conscious. So we may not be completely conscious like the Supreme Lord, but we are also supposed to become spiritually conscious. We also inherit the quality of the Supreme Lord. At this moment, we are only conscious of matter. We have to become spiritually conscious. So that quality we have to gain. So Rishabdev is saying, is there a sane man who is considering himself to be abhigna, who has spiritual knowledge? Vipaschit, a learned scholar, he knows the values of the Vedas. Avidyayam antare vartamanam. Avidyayam antare, Prabhupada explains, in ignorance. Vartamanam, existing. How can he allow people to exist in ignorance, to be engaged in avidya, to be engaged in fruitive activities which will cause bondage? Drishtva punastam sagranaha kubuddhin. He is saying, if a person, sagrahanaha means if he is having mercy in him, if he has any mercy in him, how can he allow a person who is kubuddhin? Kubuddhin means who is addicted to the path of materialistic world. Prayojayet, how can he allow a kubuddhim to be engaged in avidya? So he is giving the example, utpathagam yatha andham. It is just like man who is having eyes and he is seeing that one blind person is falling in the ditch and he allows him to fall in the ditch. So Prabhupada makes a very important point from this. Prabhupada says, in a society there must be these two classes of people. And this International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant for making this class of people who can guide other class of people. Prabhupada used to say, even 1% of the human society, if they become vipaschita, if they become learned, if they become abhigna, if they gain this spiritual knowledge, the whole world can be saved. It's not that cent% world has to become Krishna conscious. Just 1% of the whole world, if it becomes Krishna conscious, if they become vipaschita, if they become learned, they can give guidance to all other. So this is what Krishna conscious society is meant for. That we ourselves should become vipaschita, we should become learned, we should become abhigna, we should gain spiritual knowledge, apply that in our life and give guidance to other people how to follow these instructions, how to get this understanding. So, this is what Rishabdev is saying. And then, in the next shloka, he says, if you are not vipaschita, if you are not abhigna, then you have no right to become a leader. You have no right to become somebody's guide. You should not become father. You should not become mother. You should not become teacher. You should not become some worshipable object of somebody, devata. He says you have no right. What should be your qualification? You should have vision. You should have eyes. You should be learned. You should have spiritual insight. And then, what should you do with that spiritual insight? What will be the result? You should be able to take responsibility of your subordinate. You should be able to deliver them from the cycle of birth and death. Then you take charge. Then you become father. Then you become mother. Then you become spiritual master. Then you become somebody's guide. Otherwise, you have no right. You should not become. So in the very next shloka he says, Gurur na sasyat, swajano na sasyat. Even relatives, he is saying, don't become a guru, don't become swajano, a relative. Pita na sasyat, janani na sasyat. Don't become a father, don't become a janani, don't become a mother. Devam na tatsyat. Even you have no right to become worshipable deity of somebody. People should worship me. Devam na sasyat, na patischa sasyat. And don't become even a husband. Na mochayet ya samupetya mrityum. If you cannot release your subordinate, so if you are guru, you should be able to take responsibility of your disciples. If you are swajana, somebody has no one and you are his relative, then don't become a relative until and unless you can deliver your relatives. Pita, don't become a father. Janani, don't become a mother. Devam, don't become somebody's worshipable deity. Patis, don't become somebody's husband. Na mochayet ya samupetya mrityum. If you cannot deliver them from impending death, cycle of birth and death. So actually this is what we should understand. Human life is meant for responsibility. With lot of whatever different facilities we have got, always responsibility also comes with it. This everyone should understand. The moment you get some facilities, there are also responsibilities. The moment you get a higher post, you also have a lot of responsibility. Prabhupada gives the example, just like a highly placed officer, he gets lot of facilities. In the same office, there may be a peon. The peon is not given so many facilities. Just like I remember when, for the beginning time, when we were going for getting this land for, for the ISKCON, we had applied for land to the government. We had to do a lot of work and we had to go to the office of DC. And then from the office, sometimes we had to go to his house to meet DC. So in Dharwad, if you see DC's compound itself, it is many acres. It will be, I think, practically more than 15-20 acres is his house. Beautiful, nice garden is there, everything is there, big house is there. That whole place is called DC compound, you see. And then we had to wait for more than 1 hour in the house. So there was an orderly outside, there's security outside, people, and then we had to take appointment, and then he had to go and convey. The secretary had to go and convey, and then the DC comes out and meets us. So we were surprised to see that so many facilities are given to a highly placed officer, government officer, right? He's got peon in his house, he has got a personal secretary, he has got a big house, he has got a car to travel in, all these things. Imagine, with all these big facilities, the highly placed officer is not responsible. He becomes irresponsible, and he is not utilizing all these facilities for the responsibility he is given. And imagine he is working like a peon. All the work he does is only like a peon work. Right? Then what is the use of giving him that facility? The government will take away that facility. It will leave the post vacant to be occupied by someone who can be responsible. And probably the government may depromote him to a lower cadre, that you don't deserve this seat of being a highly placed officer. So we should always remember, along with different facilities, a lot of responsibility also comes. So if there is a facility given for you to enjoy the pleasure of sexual intercourse in a grahastha life, at the same time there is a responsibility also given. So not that I enter into grahastha life only for thinking that sense enjoyment is there, so let me enter into grahastha life. That is not grahastha life. So with everything, when we become a father, when we become a husband, when we become a guide, when we become a spiritual master, with all those things, responsibility also comes. So Prabhupada is saying here in the purport, according to Rishabdev, one should not become a father or mother unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. Human life is the only opportunity to get out of material scene, which is full of miseries of birth, death, old age and disease. So human life is the only chance. Dogs and cats, they cannot ask. They cannot get out of this cycle of birth and death. A dog cannot ask why I should die one day. Why again and again I am born. Why there is suffering? They cannot ask this question. In human form of life, that opportunity is there. So in human form of life, we should be responsible. That is the idea. All other life, that responsibility is not there. Dog leaves its children in the street, there is no responsibility, there is no karma. Yamraj is not going to punish. My dear dog, you left your children in the street. No. But in human form of life, if we want to beget children, we are held responsible. If we become adorable by somebody, if we try to guide somebody, if we take the post of a teacher, if we take the post of a guardian, then we have to be responsible. That is what we should understand. So human form of life is meant for responsibility, and every human should be given this opportunity. This is the work of leaders in the society. They have all become responsible leader. What is the meaning of taking responsibility? Prabhupada explains. What does it mean? To be responsible leader means give chance to every human being to become God conscious. That should be the responsibility. So of course, the people who have to be guided also, they must also be qualified. If they are like cats and dogs, then there is no possibility. But in human life, there is possibility. Prabhupada explains that in human life, however uncivilized you may be, there is possibility of training. And human life training begins with tapasya. This is very important. If we are all thinking that human life, if we want to spend it like animals, that is different. But if we want to become responsible, the training begins with tapasya. Rishabdev says that, don't waste your human life like cats and dogs. Human life is meant for tapasya, to be purified. Anybody remembers that famous shloka? Naham deha bhajam narloke kashtan kaman vid bhujam ye. So what does he say? What is this human form of life meant for? It is meant for tapasya, by which one can become purified. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gives one example of people who want to remain ignorant by assuming that they know everything. Yesterday somebody called me from Vrindavan, and she was expressing, one Mataji is there, elderly Mataji in Vrindavan, Akshobhya Prabhu's member. So she called me and she was saying that when she was going to preaching in Vrindavan and telling the Brijavasis to read Prabhupada books, they were all saying, hey, what is this? This all, हमारा रग के अंदर में हमको भगवत गीता क्या पढ़ना है? And then she was saying that after some time they will go and smoke bidis. They are calling themselves as brothers. So people who are saying that we know And such kind of people who are assuming that they know everything, but they have no stuff, it is very difficult to train them. But otherwise, any sober man can be trained. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to give an example. So one story he says about two brothers were there, Lalu and Kalu. So very instructive story. So one grocer, he had these two sons, Lalu and Kalu, and very, very, ignorant, unruly, naughty, and it was very difficult to impart any lessons to them, because actually they did not want to learn. That was the whole thing. The whole problem was they did not want to learn. So once he appointed tutor, and all those tutors, at least 4 or 5 tutors he had changed, and all of them ran away after 1 month, that they were not able to teach this. So then he appointed one tutor, and he said, one Brahmana, and he even gave one good reward. He said, if anyone can teach these two boys at least counting 1 to 100, because at least to become a grocer, if they have to weigh on the scale, they should be able to read the scale, 1 kg, 2 kg. So at least if somebody can teach them counting 1 to 100, half of my shop I will reward him. So half of my business I will give it away. So one poor Brahmana, thinking that at least I can, get something for my maintenance, he thought I will teach them. He was shrewd, he was quite intelligent. He thought, let me try. So first he tried in a normal way, they would never learn. And then one day he was going on a walk with them. So then that Brahmana, tried to trick them. So he said, my dear boy, Lalu, see, this cow is walking. See how many legs it has got. One leg looks like hurt. Can you count the legs? So then he started counting. 1, 2, 3. And immediately that other brother, Kalu, he started shouting, hey, what are you doing? You are learning. And then immediately he stopped counting. So the Brahmana thought, these boys are not going to learn. Then one day, he was, the Brahmana was little asleep. And then these two boys, they pretended to be asleep, that they are also sleeping. And then they started snoring. So they started snoring. And when the Brahmana, the teacher, the tutor fell completely asleep, then these two brothers got up. And then they saw that the teacher is now nearly practically asleep. Both of them went outside and joined with some goons and started smoking their cigarettes. So very naughty, they were all very materialistic. So after they smoked the whole thing, they all came back, both of them came back and again slept and started snoring. So then when the teacher got up, he saw that strong smell of smoke coming. So he went and chastised them. What is this? Look like you have been smoking. And then they started to say, what kind of teacher you are? You are not seeing. Before you came only we were sleeping. And till now we are sleeping. And then the teacher, he said, you are saying you are not smoking? But see your hands. From your hands that smell is coming. My dear teacher, I tell you, these people, very cunning people would have come. And when we were sleeping, through our hand they would have smoked. So Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada also gave this example many times, smoking from other's hand. He is smoking and then he is saying that actually, I am not smoking, I have smoked from his hand. The smell is coming in his hand. Isn't it? So, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur uses this example to make us understand that if somebody is like Lalu and Kalu, who do not want to learn, who pretend and who are under pretension, just like they were pretending to be asleep, pretending to be, isn't it? So then it is not possible to teach them. So except for those people who are pretending that we know things and we know Bhagavad Gita, we know who is Krishna, we know spiritual life. Otherwise, for any kind of ignorant person, if a person is sober, then we should be ready to give guidance to such kind of people. So that is what is said here. And Prabhupada says it is the responsibility of the leaders in Krishna conscious society, understanding that people are suffering. On the other day also we were hearing in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day class, Prabhupada was saying that, what is that shloka Prabhupada said? Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Prabhupada says Vaishnava means he is kripa sindhu. He is very, very merciful. So we should be able to see the sufferings of people and understand that apart from lack of Krishna consciousness, there is nothing which is lacking in the world. All sufferings are due to because people are not God conscious. So those who are vipaschita, those who are learned, abhigna, they should take up this responsibility of giving guidance to those people who are ignorant. So we'll stop with this. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.